everybody. This is Gregory with 5-Minute Catholic Apologetics, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today we're going to talk about holding hands during the Our Father. Now, before we begin, let's start with a prayer. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Gloria Patri, Filii et Spiritui Sancto, sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper, et saecula saeculorum. Amen. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. So, most of you guys, if not every person who's watching this video, certainly understands what I'm talking about. I do discuss it in Liturgical Abuses That Drive Me Crazy, Part 1, and that tells you how prevalent it is, especially in, I guess, the Novus Ordo Masses. But it's the holding of the hands during the Our Father. Now, I have mentioned in previous episodes the general instruction of the Roman Missal, which is essentially the guidebook for the Latin Mass, what priests are supposed to do, the prayers are supposed to do, gestures and all these things. And holding of the hands, or the prayer of orans, this is what the priest does during the Our Father. So what's happened in the last 30 years is that the congregation sees the priest doing it, and so they do it too. And it has to be something beyond that, because there had to have been some movement put in, and I'm assuming it's, the Protestantization of the Mass, as Bonini mentioned, the architect of the Mass, that it started that way. Because as I was a child in Catholic school in the early 80s, in the mid 80s, I don't remember this, but it could have been going on for all I know. But certainly it's quite pervasive during this time. And look, per the general instruction of the Roman Missal, we're not supposed to be holding hands. The priest has to have the prayer of orans posture. We're not supposed to. Now, this is going to offend some people, and a lot of the traditionalists are like, of course we're not supposed to do that. But a lot of people who go to Our Lady of Suburbia, as Father McTeague says, will be offended by this because they've been doing it their whole life, and they see it as like a posture of fellowship. I get it. And look, if you want to do this holding of hands while doing the Our Father at your house, or in a Bible study, or in a prayer group, or anything with your kids, that is perfectly fine. But in the holy sacrifice of the Mass, the priest must follow the general instruction of the Roman Missal. And it is prohibited to hold hands during the Mass, during the Our Father. And it is a slippery slope. When we start adding accretions to the Mass that we just feel makes it feel better, sound better, look better, then when does it stop? It's like when we redefined marriage, when the number one goal of marriage was reproduction and education of children, and it wasn't an expression of love. We've redefined that in the last 40 years, and now that's opened a Pandora's box. It's the same thing here. So we have to stick to the rubrics of the germ. We have to. And when we don't, it leads to chaos and liturgical abuses. Now, you might ask, why don't a lot of priests or bishops clamp down on that? I think a lot of priests are totally fine with it. Like, a lot of the pastors are totally fine with that. They're probably okay with the things we talked about, introducing yourself before Mass, shaking hands before Mass. Also, the gestures we do during the offertory, that's something that we should be doing. And so they don't clamp down on it. I think some of them don't clamp down because they're pusillanimous and they don't want to offend the congregation. They think the congregation is wanting that. But the way I've always done it, and look, I've taken ire from extended family who've always done it. I don't hold hands. And I've taught my kids, you do not hold hands. And they sometimes go to a Mass with their mom where their mom holds hands. So they do get confused, but I tell them, no, it's a violation of what we're supposed to be doing. Keep your hands to yourself. And look, also the other thing is it's just kind of like the pastoral approach, is that it puts pressure on you to hold hands with people, right? And it's the peer pressure. I don't want to feel out loud. You see everybody crossing the pews to hold hands, especially pre-COVID, right? And so, people right next to you, their hands are out, and you're like, I don't want to do it, but I feel, no, we've never done it. We're supposed to be like this, like that. And lastly, a pastor, I should say, has every right in his purview, in his authority, to ban it in his Mass. He can say, no one's holding hands. He can do that. And a bishop has the authority to make an announcement throughout the entire diocese that we will not be holding hands. And there are bishops who have done that. And certainly you don't see holding hands in the Latin Mass, clearly, or in the ordinariate. You don't see it. So in closing, guys, it goes to obedience. And look, I understand a lot of it is just ignorance, invincible ignorance. A lot of people don't know this. But for those of you who know it, if you continue to do it during Mass, it's a sin of obstinacy, and it's a sin of rebellion. It's a sin of, I know better. I don't care about what the church says. And we've talked about that kind of running theme through a lot of these Catholic living episodes of this running theme of obstinacy. So no, we need to stop doing it. It is wrong. Let's pray for the pastors to have the courage to stop it as well. And again, in closing, it's no place for it in Mass, but if you want to do it in private, it's totally fine. Guys, post in the comments. Let me know what you think of this. I'd like to hear from you. Hit the notification, subscribe, and share button, and share with others. Until next time, take care. God bless. And pray.